This is Nancy at Soul Talk. Thank you for jumping in. And here's a story within a story, and it's all true. True crime. All of a sudden, I had this knowing, and I picked up the phone, called the chief of detectives at the police station near me, who I had worked with for on and off 10 years, and said, "Hey, Ross, I need you to come over right now." He said, "Oh, you can tell me anything over the phone." I said, "No, that's the point." Not that I knew what the point was. I didn't. I just followed the calling, compelled to think that, say that, do that. That was my call to action. And so he came over, but he didn't come alone. He came with a few other officers, a lieutenant, a sergeant, and somebody else. And they had the bug. It's not an insect. It's a little black box with a wire. And it had been under the chief of police's desk. So I asked, "Can I hold it?" Ross gave it to me, and I'm walking back and forth in my living room, and I said, Morristown, Radio Shack, uh, uh, September 11th. Oddly enough, September 11th. Isn't that weird? But, and so Ross said, "Okay, we'll go tomorrow to Morristown." So we did. We went to Radio Shack. He showed his badge. I didn't have one. If you check wild cards or any of them, they don't get badges. I got mine later. Anyhow, from that chief of police also, too. Uh, we looked and given permission, we looked through receipts, and there it was, perfect match to that particular bug. We looked at each other, and it was somebody in another town. And one of the things you'll notice in my talks, anything online, the first thing I think about is safety, caution, ethics, be harmless. So while nobody had ever been brought to court over it, no, they haven't. I would not say another word. That was it. And yet we talked privately about the link between that and what we had seen of the second case. So the second case goes like this. We're sitting in the living room. I'm walking back and forth with the bug and tell them what I think. And then they pull out 29 photos. Everybody in the police station, except for Ross and the chief, I think. Not sure. And I looked, 29 officers, and I looked through every one of them, and one stands out. And I pull it. They're not going to hear names. I don't do that for a reason. You'll hear why. Anyhow, I pull it out, and I said, "This one steals evidence out of the evidence room." I didn't know he was in charge of the evidence room. They told me after. I then looked, and then I was getting visions of it and said, "He doesn't even live in this state now. He moved. Oh, he sells guns. He's got 2 barrels of explosives." And I'm going on that way. And one of the officers there present in the room said, "Well, how are we going to get him?" I said, "What time does he come on shift?" And they told me. I said, "Okay, about 2 hours before, somebody's hiding in the evidence room where they cannot be seen, and they will catch him because he does this every day. He picks out what he wants, stuffs it around, puts it somewhere different, or puts it on in his own bag, and you got him." And they did. So they had an FBI warrant to his home. And Ross calls me. It's out of state, from New Jersey. And so Ross calls me from there and says the FBI got all the guns and ammunition. I said, "What about the barrels of explosives?" He said, "Oh." forgot we need another warrant, so they got that. The officer who was caught red-handed made a deal, got prison time, but made a deal to shorten it for giving all the people he sold weapons to. When he was out, he moved to Florida. Only the chief of detectives, Ross English, was not going to let that drop. And so he notified in Florida, in the area he lived, this person, and notified the police there and put everybody on notice. And sure enough, that same person murdered somebody, and he was the first suspect. And so he was convicted and found guilty, absolutely, and put away for life. I still won't name him. He's got family who didn't do it. So those are the two cases. And in it, I'm hoping you see mm, how sometimes you trust your gut, you trust what comes to you, you don't even know why, and it doesn't matter. Sometimes you won't be right. So what? Oh, are you right every time about everything? I'm not about anything. It's yeah, when you write a book, copy editor, line editor, beta readers first. They correct a lot. Proofreader, formatter, right? You get it all done. And now I'm doing Audible on Soul Detective. It's almost complete. I'm not speaking. Mm-mm. Not 3 hours straight and all that. No. However, she's so fantastic at it. She's finding errors, grammatical mostly, and correcting as she goes, right? That's what happens. We're not perfect. I don't try to be. I give my best, but that's not perfect. There's no guarantee. So trust your gut, trust your instinct. And if you've ever had those strange feelings that something was off, hit the like button and make your comments and tell me what you'd like to do, right? And if you want more real stories that make you question coincidence, synchronicity, what's it all about, stay tuned and hit the subscribe button. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.